Ladies and gentlemen, today I want to talk about something that silently destroys our peace, drains our energy, and steals our happiness. Toxic people. We all have them in our lives, sometimes in our home, sometimes at work, sometimes in friendships, and sometimes in our own thoughts. But think about this. We clean our houses, we wash our clothes, we filter our water. Yet we never think about filtering the people who enter our hearts. Today, I want to help you discover the way to protect your peace without becoming bitter, to defend your dignity without becoming aggressive, and to love yourself without hating anyone else. My friends, in life, you cannot control what others say to you, but you can control what you allow to stay inside you. It's not the snake bite that kills, it's the poison that remains. In the same way, it's not the words of toxic people that ruin us. It's carrying their negativity inside our hearts. Some people insult because they are insecure. Some people gossip because they are empty. Some people manipulate because they are afraid to lose control. But none of that is about you. It is a reflection of who they are, not who you are. We cannot escape toxic people entirely, but we can learn how to deal with them wisely, peacefully, and spiritually. We can stay respectful without surrendering our values. We can forgive without allowing repeated harm. We can stay kind without compromising our dignity. So today, I want to give you clarity, courage, and strength. Clarity to recognize toxic patterns, courage to take a stand, and strength to keep your inner peace untouched. Let us begin. Every one of us, at some point in life, has faced words that cut deep, criticisms that felt unfair, or attitudes that left us doubting ourselves. And the very first step in dealing with toxic people begins with a simple but powerful mindset shift. Don't take it personally. What someone says or does is often a reflection of their inner world, not yours. Yet most of us carry the wounds of someone else's brokenness, as if their opinions are a mirror of our truth. If a person living in darkness describes sunlight, they will only see shadows. And many times when toxic people attack us, it's because they are battling storms we cannot see. When someone gets angry easily, when someone constantly complains, when someone always finds fault, it is so natural to ask ourselves, what did I do wrong? But sometimes you did absolutely nothing. They are not reacting to you, they are reacting to their own internal chaos. The way people speak, the way they judge, the way they behave is shaped by the experiences and pain they carry within them. A person who grew up around negativity may normalize negativity. A person who never learned love may not know how to express love. And a person who is insecure often tries to make others feel small. Toxic behavior very often is not born from strength, but from weakness. If someone calls you incapable, it may be because they feel inferior. If someone constantly tries to belittle you, it may be because they feel threatened by you. If someone spreads rumors about you, it may be because they are unhappy with themselves. When you take their actions personally, you invite their pain into your heart. When you carry their words inside, you give them control over your emotions. And when you allow their opinions to define you, you unknowingly start living according to their limitations, not your possibilities. Imagine someone throwing mud at you. You didn't create the mud, you didn't ask for the mud, but if you start wiping it on your clothes, you will end up dirty. And in the same way, when someone throws negativity at you, you can either let it slide off you, or you can rub it into your spirit. Toxic people want you to react, because when you react, you absorb their energy. They want you to doubt yourself, because when you doubt yourself, you weaken your own strength. They want you to take things personally, because when you do, you become emotionally trapped. So, how do we stop taking it personally? We shift perspective. Instead of asking, why did they say this to me? Ask, what must they be going through inside to say something like this? When you see their behavior as a symptom, not as a personal attack, your heart is free. When someone insults you, instead of thinking, I am not good enough, remind yourself, they are speaking from their pain, not my truth. When someone acts cruelly, instead of wondering why do they hate me, understand they may not even like themselves. One of the wisest things you can do is to stop depending on other people for validation. Toxic people lose power over you the moment you stop giving importance to their words. When you are rooted in who you are, when you know your worth, when you trust your journey, their opinions become noise, not truth. The wind may blow, but it cannot move a mountain. And when you become emotionally strong, toxic behavior cannot uproot you. When you don't take it personally, you protect your mental peace. You protect your joy. You protect your self-esteem. You stop replaying conversations in your head. You stop trying to please people who will never appreciate you. You stop wasting your energy on those who thrive on conflict. You begin to realize that someone's anger does not have to ruin your day. Someone's insult does not have to cloud your mind. Someone's insecurity does not have to poison your heart. It is not weakness to walk away from toxicity. It is strength. It is wisdom. It is emotional maturity. Some people are not ready to understand you. Some people are not capable of respecting you. And some people are not meant to stay in your inner circle. When you stop taking them personally, their power over you dissolves. You no longer feel wounded. You no longer feel offended. You no longer allow their opinions to dictate your happiness. So remember, when someone tries to pull you down, it doesn't mean you belong lower. It means they are afraid to see you rise higher. When someone judges you, it doesn't define you, it defines them. When someone mistreats you, it doesn't reduce your value. It reveals their weakness. When someone spreads negativity, protect your peace. Because your peace is sacred and you are responsible for guarding your emotional space. And my dear friends, if you choose one thing, choose this. Never give the remote control of your emotions into someone else's hands. Their toxicity does not belong in your heart. Their negativity does not deserve a place in your mind. Don't take it personally, and you will reclaim a level of freedom that toxic people can never destroy. Setting healthy boundaries is one of the most peaceful, powerful, and spiritually intelligent ways of dealing with toxic people. People often misunderstand boundaries. They think boundaries are about being rude, being distant, or being selfish. But in reality, boundaries are not walls to keep people out. They are fences that protect your peace without harming anyone else. Just as every house has a door, every garden has a gate, every phone has a password, your inner world also needs healthy boundaries. When you allow people to walk into your mind, your emotions, your personal space without limits, you end up paying a price, the price of your happiness, your dignity, your inner balance. Boundaries are not about changing other people. They are about changing how much access you allow them to your life. You cannot control how others behave, but you can control what you tolerate. You cannot force someone to speak kindly, but you can choose not to stand there and absorb their disrespect. You cannot stop someone from being negative, but you can stop them from dragging you into their negativity. Boundaries are where you draw the line and lovingly, firmly, and clearly communicate what is acceptable and what is not. Many people avoid setting boundaries because they fear losing others. But think about this, someone who leaves because you set a boundary was never truly there for you. And someone who values you will respect your boundaries instead of breaking them. In fact, boundaries help relationships grow healthier because they establish clarity. When people know what you stand for, they know how to treat you. When people know what you won't tolerate, they thin twice before crossing the line. Let me share something very meaningful. Silence is not always weakness. Sometimes silence is a boundary. Walking away from an argument you know is pointless is a boundary. Not responding to provocation is a boundary. Choosing to spend time with people who uplift you instead of those who drain you is a boundary. You don't need to shout, fight, prove yourself, or justify your decisions. Healthy boundaries are practiced with calmness, not aggression. Sometimes toxic people want to test you. They want to see if you will bend to their disrespect. They want to see if you will tolerate behavior you never deserved. But each time you stand up for yourself with grace, you show them that your peace has value. You don't allow someone to walk through your mind with muddy shoes. You don't let someone treat you like an afterthought. You don't let someone give you scraps of attention and expect you to call it love. Setting boundaries also means you learn to say no. And no is one of the most powerful words you will ever use. Not because it rejects others, but because it protects you. You are not obligated to always be available. You are not obligated to explain yourself. You are not obligated to please everyone. Trying to please everyone is the fastest way to lose yourself. Boundaries help you stay connected to your integrity, your values, your emotional well-being. Some people will not like your boundaries, especially if they benefited from you having none. They may blame you, guilt trip you, or label you as selfish. But remember this, prioritizing your peace is not selfish. It is self-respect. You don't set boundaries to punish others. You set boundaries to protect yourself from further harm. You don't set boundaries to create distance. You set boundaries to create clarity in how people treat you. There will be moments when setting boundaries feels uncomfortable. You may feel guilty, uncertain, or emotionally shaken. But understand something, growth always begins outside of your comfort zone. If keeping boundaries feels difficult, it's because you are learning to value yourself in ways you never did before. If you don't protect your emotional space, nobody else will. You are the guardian of your inner world, and that responsibility lies in your hands. Boundaries do not need explanations. A simple, I cannot talk about this right now, or I am not comfortable with this, or please do not speak to me in that tone, or I need some distance. Enough. You don't need to justify your feelings. Your peace is justification enough. People who care will understand. Those who do not understand will get frustrated. But that frustration is not yours to carry. And the beauty of boundaries is that they work even when others don't agree with them. Boundaries are not negotiations, they are decisions. The moment you realize you deserve respect, your energy changes. And when your energy changes, your environment changes. You attract healthier connections, healthier conversations, healthier relationships. Because when you love yourself enough to set boundaries, you create space in your life for people who love you in return. So set them gently, set them firmly, set them consistently. Do not let anyone's toxic behavior decide your emotional temperature. Protect your peace, honor your worth, and understand that boundaries are not barriers. They are bridges to a life of balance, dignity, and emotional freedom. Respond, don't react. This is one of the most powerful lessons in dealing with toxic people, and yet one of the hardest to practice. When someone provokes us, insults us, mocks us, or behaves in ways meant to disturb our peace, our first instinct is to react emotionally. We react with anger, with frustration, with irritation, sometimes even with hurt. But reacting immediately gives the other person power over our emotions. When you react, you allow their negativity to control your thoughts, your mood, your day. Yet when you choose to respond, you have taken back your power. Responding comes from clarity, reacting comes from chaos. Responding comes from strength, reacting comes from insecurity. Responding comes from wisdom, reacting comes from impulse. Have you ever noticed that toxic people thrive when you lose control? They feel victorious when they push your buttons. They try to trigger you because when you react, they win. But when you stay calm, they are disarmed. They don't know how to handle someone who refuses to be dragged into emotional drama. Silence becomes louder than shouting. A gentle tone becomes more powerful than harsh words. Your peace becomes stronger than their chaos. Sometimes the most powerful statement is not what you say, but what you choose not to say. Responding does not mean suppressing your feelings or pretending nothing happened. Responding means allowing your emotions to pass through you without letting them rule your actions. Imagine a cup filled with water. If someone bumps into you, water spills. If your heart is filled with anger, frustration, or insecurity, when someone provokes you, those emotions spill out. But if your heart is filled with calmness, confidence, and clarity, nothing toxic spills. You respond with composure instead of reacting with chaos. When you respond, you buy time. A pause may seem small, but it can save relationships, protect dignity, and preserve peace. A deep breath can stop you from saying words you'll later regret. A moment of silence can prevent a conflict from escalating. Toxic people want you to respond instantly, emotionally, irrationally, but when you pause before speaking, you protect yourself. You stop letting someone else dictate your behavior. There is a huge difference between reacting to prove yourself and responding to protect your peace. When you react, you want to show you're right, you want to defend yourself, you want to match their energy. But responding means you don't need validation from them. You don't need approval from them. You don't need to justify yourself to someone who has already chosen not to understand you. Responding means you choose maturity over madness, self-control over self-destruction. Sometimes responding means saying something calmly. Sometimes responding means walking away. Sometimes responding means saying nothing at all. But all forms of response share one quality: self-control. When you are in control of yourself, toxic people lose control over you. They want drama, but you give silence. They want chaos, but you give peace. They want reaction, but you give reflection. The truth is, you cannot stop toxic people from being toxic, but you can stop giving them the satisfaction of seeing you upset. You can stop letting their words dictate your emotions. You can stop letting their negativity enter your heart. You respond not because you are weak, but because you are strong enough not to be shaken by their storm. The wind blows, trees shake, but the mountain stands still. Be that mountain. Responding also teaches you emotional maturity. It teaches you to think before you speak, to observe before you judge, to choose your words carefully. When you respond with calmness, you grow. You learn that peace is more valuable than being right. Dignity is more valuable than winning an argument. Your inner stability is more valuable than outer victory. Picture this: someone throws stones into still water and ripples spread. But if that water becomes still again quickly, the stone has no lasting effect. Toxic people will throw their negativity at you. They will test you, challenge you, provoke you. But if you keep your peace, the negativity loses its power. Your emotional stillness is your greatest strength. Responding also helps you maintain clarity. You think better when you are calm. You speak better when you are centered. You make wiser decisions when you are balanced. But when you react, you act out of emotion, not wisdom. You say things you don't mean. You do things you regret. But when you respond, you act from your higher self, not your wounded self. People will notice the change in you. They will respect you more. Even those who try to prove. You will eventually understand that you cannot be manipulated emotionally. You become grounded. You become centered. You become someone who is not easily shaken. You protect your peace not by fighting every battle, but by choosing which battles are worth your energy. So remember always, responding is not a weakness. It is a sign of emotional intelligence. It is not passive. It is powerful. It is not silence out of fear. It is silence out of strength. You cannot control toxic people, but you can control how you engage with them. You cannot change their behavior, but you can protect your peace. Respond, don't react, and you will find yourself living with far greater strength, balance, and inner freedom. Sometimes, the healthiest thing you can do when dealing with toxic people is to create distance. Not distance rooted in bitterness, anger, or revenge, but distance rooted in self-respect, emotional clarity, and inner peace. Distance is not rejection. Distance is not hatred. Distance is not punishment. Distance is simply a way to protect your mental and emotional well-being without wishing harm upon anyone. When you step back from someone's toxicity, it does not mean you hate them. It means you love yourself enough to stop allowing their behavior to disturb your inner balance. There are many people in life whom we cannot completely remove. It may be a family member, a colleague, someone in the community, someone who shares the same environment, or someone connected through responsibilities. So distance does not always mean walking away physically. Sometimes distance means emotional separation, mental detachment, reducing expectations, guarding your heart, and limiting access to your inner world. You don't have to block someone from your life to distance yourself. You simply have to stop giving them the power to affect your peace. Distance becomes necessary when someone repeatedly crosses boundaries, when someone disrespects you without remorse, when someone drains your energy, when someone manipulates your emotions, when someone brings negativity into your space. But we often hesitate to distance ourselves because society teaches us that if you care for someone, you must tolerate everything. But this is not compassion, it is self-destruction. Compassion does not mean accepting disrespect. Love does not mean accepting abuse. Kindness does not mean letting someone damage your mental health. You can care for someone's well-being and still walk away from their toxic behavior. And distancing yourself does not mean you wish harm. It does not mean you hold grudges. It does not mean you want them to suffer. It simply means you want to protect your peace. There is a great misunderstanding that distance equals hostility, but wise people know that distance is often a sign of maturity. You are not closing the door forever, you are just stepping back to breathe, to heal, to regain clarity. People often become angry when you distance yourself because they assume you are trying to punish them, but in truth, you are trying to preserve yourself. Distance is an act of spiritual strength. You don't have to fight. You don't have to argue. You don't have to prove anything. You don't have to defend yourself every time. You simply detach and let life speak for you. Silence has a language of its own. It tells people, I will not feed negativity. I will not participate in drama. I will not allow toxicity to live rent-free in my heart. Silence is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of deep self-control. Distance becomes a healing space. It gives you time to understand your emotions. It helps you reflect. It helps you see things objectively. When we are too close, we often get blinded by emotions. We justify hurt. We overlook disrespect. We tolerate. But when we distance ourselves, everything becomes clearer. We start seeing patterns. We start identifying where the damage came from. We see what we were ignoring. And most importantly, we begin to heal. We must learn to distance without resentment, because resentment keeps you emotionally tied to the person. But forgiveness sets you free and distance keeps you safe. You can forgive someone in your heart and still not allow them to enter your life deeply again. Forgiveness is for your peace. Distance is for your protection. Both work together. You don't have to broadcast it. You don't have to announce. You don't have to explain it to everyone. Simply step back quietly and let your inner peace take the lead. Distance teaches you that you can love people without being consumed by them. You can respect someone without being close to them. You can help someone without sacrificing your well-being. You are not abandoning anyone. You are simply choosing emotional clarity. Sometimes the most compassionate thing you can do for your own soul is to create space from what harms you while holding no bitterness in your heart. There will be people who misunderstand your distance. They may call you cold. They may accuse you of changing. They may say you have become selfish. But you know your heart, you know your limits, you know what's best for your emotional well-being. People who truly value you will respect your need for space. People who only want to use you will complain about your boundaries. So distance gently, distance peacefully, distance respectfully, and distance without hate. You don't have to curse anyone. You don't have to harbor anger. You don't have to speak ill of them. Just step back, breathe, and prioritize your peace. Because real strength is not in holding on to people who hurt you, but in letting go without hatred and moving forward with dignity. One of the biggest emotional burdens we carry is the belief that we are responsible for fixing people who are toxic, hurting, broken, or lost. We see someone's pain and we want to heal it. We see someone's anger and we want to calm it. We see someone's insecurities and we want to uplift them. We see someone destroying themselves and we rush to rescue them. This desire comes from a place of love, compassion, and sensitivity. But the truth is, not everyone wants to be helped. Not everyone is ready to change. Not everyone is open to growth. And not everyone sees their behavior as harmful. Sometimes the more you try to fix someone, the more they break you, the more you try to heal them, the more wounds they give you. It is a deeply painful realization that you cannot save everyone. You cannot force someone to become a better person. You cannot teach someone respect if they choose disrespect. You cannot teach someone kindness if they cling to cruelty. You cannot teach someone peace if they feed on conflict. You cannot give someone wisdom if they choose ignorance. And no matter how genuine your intentions may be, you cannot pour healing into someone who refuses to receive it. Healing is not something you can push into someone's life. It is something they must open their heart to. Some people take advantage of your desire to fix. They sense your compassion and use it as permission to treat you however they want. Because they know you will forgive, you will understand, you will try again, and you will keep trying to fix what they continue breaking. But this is not compassion, it is emotional self-sacrifice. You become drained, exhausted, emotionally wounded, while they continue repeating the same behavior, without learning, without growing, without understanding the damage they cause. Trying to fix toxic people often comes from a place of hope. You see their potential. You see their goodness under the surface. You see the person they could become. But you must understand something deeply. Potential means nothing without willingness. Someone may have the potential to change, but if they have no desire to change, your effort becomes useless. If they do not see their own toxicity, no matter how much you point it out gently, they will deny, blame, twist, manipulate, and attack you instead. You cannot heal someone who enjoys the hurt. You cannot teach humility to someone comfortable in arrogance. You cannot show light to someone who chooses darkness. And trying to fix people is not only emotionally draining, it is spiritually draining. You lose your inner peace. You lose your clarity. You lose your sense of balance. You start questioning yourself. Am I not doing enough? Am I not saying the right things? Am I not loving them enough? But the truth is, the issue is not you. The issue is that they are not ready. A person must first recognize their own weakness to begin healing it. A person must first see their mistakes before correcting them. Without self-awareness, no growth happens. You must learn to release the weight of responsibility for others' transformation. You are not a savior. You are not a therapist to every wounded soul. You are not meant to sacrifice your mental well-being to carry someone through their chaos. You can guide, you can encourage, you can inspire. But you cannot do the work for them. You are responsible for your life, they are responsible for theirs. When you try to control someone's transformation, you are interfering with their process, and sometimes even delaying their lessons. There are things they must discover on their own, through experience, through real consequences, through personal reflection. Sometimes stepping back is the most healing thing you can do, not just for yourself, but for them. Because when they stop depending on you to fix everything, they finally confront their own behavior. When they stop leaning on your emotional strength, they finally face their weakness. When they stop expecting you to carry them, they finally learn to walk. And many times, life will teach them lessons you could never teach through words. Pain is sometimes the best teacher. Silence sometimes becomes the best guide. Distance sometimes becomes the best medicine. You do not stop caring. You do not stop loving. You simply stop sacrificing your peace in the name of saving others. You accept that change is an inside job, not something you can impose from outside. You stop fighting battles that are not yours to fight. You stop carrying burdens that were never yours to carry. You stop bleeding for people who cut you repeatedly. You stop doing emotional labor that others must learn to do themselves. And this understanding creates peace. You no longer blame yourself. You no longer feel guilty. You no longer feel responsible for someone else's growth. You let go gently and wisely. You give advice when asked, but you do not force it. You support when appropriate, but you do not overextend. You love from a place of clarity, not obligation. You allow people to face their own journey while you walk your own path with dignity and emotional strength. Because the truth is, you cannot fix everyone, but you can protect yourself. And sometimes that protection is the most loving choice you will ever make. When dealing with toxic people, one of the most transformative lessons you can learn is to stop investing all your emotional energy in changing others, and instead begin investing that energy into your own growth. Because growth is not something you do for others, growth is something you do for yourself. When you focus on improving yourself, you naturally outgrow the circles, patterns, and situations that no longer align with you. You do not escape toxic people by fighting them, you escape toxic environments by rising above them. The more you evolve, the more you attract people who match your growth, and the less you feel trapped by negativity. Growth starts with awareness of what you feel, how you think, and what you tolerate. It begins with observing your own reactions, your own emotional triggers, and your own responses to difficult people. You cannot change how others behave, but you can change how you respond to their behavior. You cannot stop people from being negative, but you can build yourself to a level where negativity no longer affects you the same way. Growth is not about controlling the outside world. It is about strengthening your inner world. Focusing on self-growth means you stop giving your entire energy to other people's chaos. You stop analyzing their actions and start understanding your own. You stop wondering why they behave a certain way, and you begin understanding what you need to learn from the situation. Growth teaches you that every challenge is not here to break you. Some are here to teach you resilience, patience, wisdom, and emotional maturity. Toxic people can become unwilling teachers. They teach you what you no longer accept. They teach you what boundaries you must build. They teach you what peace truly feels like by showing you what it definitely is not. Growth is not always comfortable. It stretches you. It challenges your habits. It forces you to let go of patterns you once held on to. It may feel lonely at times because the moment you start growing, you start realizing that not everyone around you grows with you. Some people prefer comfort over clarity, negativity over healing, drama over peace. But when you grow, you stop matching their energy and start protecting your own. You begin making choices consciously instead of reacting impulsively. You start living with intention instead of living by default. Self-growth teaches you that you don't need validation from others to feel valuable. You don't need approval to feel worthy. You don't need constant reassurance to feel safe. You become emotionally independent. You learn to make peace with your imperfections, your mistakes, your past. You stop judging yourself through the opinions of others. You begin to see yourself as a work in progress, not perfect but evolving, learning, expanding. And that is one of the most powerful things any human can do. Focusing on growth also helps you shift your priorities. Instead of trying to win arguments, you prioritize peace. Instead of trying to prove yourself to someone who refuses to understand, you prioritize clarity. Instead of trying to change someone's opinion of you focus on becoming someone whose identity is not shaken by opinions at all. Growth teaches you emotional strength. It teaches you not to react to every insult, not to respond to every provocation, not to engage in every fight. You learn to conserve your energy because you realize not everything deserves a reaction and not everyone deserves access to your emotional space. Self-growth is also about becoming mindful of the energy you absorb and the energy you give. Toxic people drain your energy, growth replenishes it. Toxic environments break your spirit, growth rebuilds it. Toxic communication poisons your heart, growth heals it. You start feeding your mind with wisdom, your heart with gratitude, your spirit with peace. You begin seeking environments that elevate you, people who respect you, conversations that inspire you, and as you grow, you naturally distance yourself from the negativity that once consumed you. Growth also teaches you patience with yourself and with life. You learn that you don't have to rush healing, you don't have to rush clarity, you don't have to rush transformation. Growth is not a race, it is a journey. And on this journey, every step matters. Even the small steps count. Even the setbacks teach something. Even the pauses help you breathe and recover. Growth is not about becoming someone else. It is about becoming the best version of who you already are. And most importantly, focusing on self-growth brings you peace. Not the temporary peace you get from winning a fight or proving a point, but the deep, long-lasting peace that comes from inner strength and emotional maturity. Toxic people lose their power over you, not because they change, but because you evolve. Their words no longer sting, their actions no longer shake you, their attitude no longer steals your happiness. You reach a place where your peace does not depend on other people. It depends only on your growth, your perspective, your wisdom. So when you encounter toxicity, don't waste your life trying to fix them. Fix yourself, heal yourself, strengthen yourself, rise above. Because when you grow, everything else in your life begins to transform, sometimes quietly, sometimes slowly, but always beautifully. When we talk about emotional peace, many of us assume it's something that others will allow us to have, or something that will appear magically if people around us change. But the real truth is that emotional peace is not something granted by others, it is something we choose to protect within ourselves. Because toxic people will exist in this world, whether we like it or not. Some will insult, some will mock, some will gossip, some will try to sabotage your confidence, and some will simply drain your spirit with negativity. The question is not whether they will change, but whether we are willing to protect our inner space from being invaded. Imagine you lock your house every night, right? Not because you expect thieves every day, but because it's your responsibility to protect what you value. Similarly, you lock your phone with a password, not because every person wants to steal it, but because it is valuable to you. In the same way, emotional peace is your treasure, and it needs boundaries, not because the world is horrible, but because peace is precious. Toxic people may leave chaos in their path, but you don't have to let that chaos enter your heart. And if you observe closely, toxic behavior is often rooted in pain they themselves haven't healed. That doesn't justify their actions, but it explains why certain people constantly react with negativity. They project their anger onto others, they spread insecurities, they try to bring others down because they never learned how to rise themselves. If you take every word of such people personally, you will be constantly disturbed. But when you begin to understand that toxicity comes from unhealed wounds, suddenly you stop absorbing it. Peace comes when you realize that you don't have to react to everything. You don't have to explain yourself to everyone. You don't have to fight every battle. Responding to every toxic person is like trying to argue with every barking dog on the street. You may prove your point, but you will waste your energy. Sometimes silence is strength, sometimes walking away is wisdom, sometimes ignoring is power. Protection of emotional peace also demands that we choose our company wisely. Everyone influences us, whether we like it or not. Some people inspire growth, positivity, wisdom, and calmness. They make you feel capable, hopeful, energized. Others drain you, confuse you, manipulate you, and make you doubt your worth. You cannot build a palace while standing in a swamp. Similarly, you cannot build emotional strength while standing in negativity. The more time you spend around toxic people, the more you start thinking like them, behaving like them, reacting like them. Your peace starts fading because your environment controls your mindset if you don't intentionally protect it. And protecting peace is not hard, it is conscious. It is choosing not to overthink. It is choosing not to engage in unnecessary arguments. It is choosing not to let someone else's bitter words define your day. It is choosing clarity over confusion, self-worth over comparison, calmness over chaos. When you decide that your mental health matters, you begin to shift your focus inward, not outward. Toxic people no longer have the power to ruin your day unless you let them. Sometimes people think peaceful means weak. But emotional peace is not weakness, it is discipline. It takes strength to stay calm when someone tries to provoke you. It takes strength not to respond when someone tries to manipulate you. It takes strength to walk away instead of arguing. Fighting everyone is easy, staying peaceful is not. But that peace you protect is the foundation of your growth, your relationships, and your decisions. And eventually you discover an important truth. Peace is not avoiding problems. Peace is managing yourself in the middle of problems. Peace is not running away from toxic people. Peace is choosing how much access you give them to your emotions. Peace is not living without challenges. Peace is learning not to let challenges live in your mind. Like a garden that needs care to protect flowers from weeds, your inner world needs protection from negative energies. You don't need to remove every weed in the world, but you must protect your garden. Your peace is like that garden. It is beautiful, delicate, and deeply important. And once you start valuing it, you naturally become selective about what enters your space. In the end, emotional peace is your responsibility, not the world's. Toxic people will say what they say, but you decide whether their words enter your heart. They may judge, but you choose not to carry their judgment. They may try to provoke you, but you choose calmness. They may criticize you, but you choose clarity. They may betray, but you choose healing. And the moment you embrace this truth, your life changes. Because protecting your emotional peace is the greatest act of self-respect you can ever give yourself. There comes a moment in life when you finally realize that you cannot change everyone, you cannot convince everyone, and you cannot make everyone appreciate your value. You can be genuine, kind, loving, respectful, and still there will be people who misunderstand you, criticize you, or underestimate you. And at that moment, instead of breaking down, you learn something powerful. You do not need everyone's approval to live peacefully. You just need your own clarity. This clarity begins to free you from the pressure of trying to impress those who are impossible to satisfy. It frees you from seeking validation from those who do not even understand the journey you are on. Because toxic people thrive on control. Control over your peace, control over your reactions, control over your confidence. Once you stop giving them your energy, they lose their power. The most calming realization is that toxic people do not need to change in order for you to live peacefully. They can be loud, but you can choose silence. They can be rude, but you can choose dignity. They can be unstable, but you can choose emotional stability. They can continue behaving in the same way they always do, but you can rise above it through inner strength. And the most surprising thing is that this shift does not happen by forcing them to behave right. It happens when you stop allowing their desire to affect your inner world. The moment you stop reacting, you take back control. It is like someone trying to start a fire, but you do not give them the fuel. Eventually, the fire dies out. Sometimes toxic people want access to your emotions, not because they care, but because they enjoy having control. They want you angry, they want you hurt, they want you confused, because confusion makes you weak and weakness makes you dependent. But once you understand this pattern, you stop giving them the reaction they seek. You stay clear, composed, and emotionally balanced. And that is the moment you shift from being controlled to being in control. This clarity also allows you to see that not every battle is worth fighting. Not every misunderstanding is worth correcting. If someone is committed to judging you wrongly, no explanation will convince them. So instead of wasting energy on convincing them, you save that energy for your growth. Toxic people want attention, whether positive or negative. Silence takes away that attention. Silence is not weakness. Silence is strategy. Silence is strength. Silence is the realization that you no longer need chaos to prove your worth. And when you distance yourself emotionally from toxic influences, your mind becomes clearer. You start seeing possibilities, solutions, answers, and peace that were previously blocked by frustration and anger. Suddenly you have space inside you. Space for peace, space for growth, space for healing, space for happiness. Toxic people shrink your inner world, but clarity expands it. The deeper you go into this clarity, the more you understand that everyone is fighting their own internal battle. Some are struggling with insecurity, some with jealousy, some with past trauma, some with ego, and some with fear. Toxic people are simply people who do not know how to manage their emotions, so they pour their emotional poison on others. When you see this truth, you stop absorbing their negativity. You understand their toxicity without allowing it to contaminate your peace. And then comes another beautiful understanding. You begin to invest your energy where it actually matters. People who support you, people who respect you, people who appreciate your growth, people who uplift your spirit. Instead of responding to those who drain you, you start connecting with those who nourish you. Instead of reacting to negativity, you start responding to positivity. This creates emotional balance. It is not about escaping reality. It is about choosing wisely. Clarity transforms your life because it creates emotional boundaries without needing physical distance. You may still see the toxic person, but they no longer control how you feel. Their words do not shake you, their actions do not break you, their judgments do not disturb you. You can face the same situation with a different mindset. You become unshakable, steady, grounded. And when you reach this level of emotional clarity, peace is not something you chase. Peace becomes something you carry. You don't need the world to be perfect. You just need the understanding to deal with imperfection. Toxic people no longer rob you of peace because peace becomes your internal decision, not an external condition. And the moment you realize that your peace is not in their hands, but in your choices, life changes in the most empowering way. You walk with more confidence, you speak with more wisdom, you think with more calmness, and you love yourself with more strength. That clarity is freedom, emotional freedom, mental freedom, spiritual freedom. And once you taste this freedom, you never let anyone take it away again.